The young man raised his wooden hammer and slammed it hard against the ground. With just 2 strikes, he drove an iron rail as thick as an arm into the earth. This display left the nearby prison guards absolutely stunned. Even a powerhouse like boxing champion Mike Tyson would need 5 swings to pull that off. Regular people wouldn't even come close. Soon Baki had left everyone else in the dust. When lunchtime rolled around, Tyson told Baki that he'd be getting out next month. He'd always had this dream, you see, to claim the World Heavyweight Championship title. Prison just wasn't the place for him. Boxing was his true calling, his domain. But not everyone wanted to see Tyson walk free. The Boxing Association, for instance, offered $2 million to have the warden cripple Tyson. They couldn't stand the thought of some ex-con taking the crown. Money talks, and the warden was ready to listen. So he brought in the 3 brothers known as Lip, Tooth, and Tongue. These 3 were seriously weird. Not only did they dress identically, they couldn't even speak a complete sentence without splitting it between all 3 of them. But the warden knew just how powerful these triplets really were. Soon enough, the trio tracked down Tyson. At first, Tyson didn't take these 3 freaks seriously, but when he heard the triplets claim their combined strength was only 3 times that of a regular person, Tyson finally snapped. He decided it was time to teach them a lesson. Who would have thought these 3 weirdos wouldn't even flinch? Instead, they mocked Tyson's so-called 1 against 10 reputation, saying it only worked against weak opponents with 0 teamwork. With that, the triplets surrounded Tyson. A snap of fingers echoed through the air, and the triplets launched their attack. What Tyson didn't expect was that his opponent's skin was somehow tougher than steel plating. Tyson flew into a rage, but just as he tried to counterattack, a foot swept his legs out from under him. Then a slap landed square across his face. Taking advantage of Tyson's momentary blindness, the triplets unleashed a brutal assault. Tyson felt like a monkey being played with, spun around completely. He seized his chance and went after one of them in hot pursuit. Little did he know, this was exactly what they wanted. Before Tyson could react, one of them planted a kick right in his head. What followed might be the most humiliating beatdown Tyson ever suffered in the entire anime. Facing the triplets' relentless assault, even an Iron Man would struggle to hold up. But then, realizing he was outmatched, Tyson suddenly turned tail and ran. This scene left everyone completely speechless. Knowing he couldn't beat them, Tyson backed himself into a corner. Then he got into his fighting stance. He decided to use his signature combat technique against these 3 shameless freaks. Tyson had once used his incredible dodging skills to defeat opponent after opponent in the ring. But Tyson overlooked one crucial detail. He'd never tried facing 3 attackers simultaneously. Before Tyson could catch his breath, the triplets' assault came again. Against such rapid-fire attacks, even Tyson could only take the beating passively. Seeing the perfect opening, one of them quickly vaulted onto Tyson's back. What followed was complete one-sided domination. Soon Tyson was beaten to within an inch of his life and lost consciousness entirely. Just as the triplets were about to sever Tyson's tendons, a silver flash suddenly streaked through the air. It was actually a child's pinwheel that had been nailed to the wall. The triplets looked toward the darkness in complete shock. There was Gavl, arms wrapped around his knees, rolling toward them in an extremely bizarre pose. The triplets froze in place, stunned. Then Gavl stood up from the ground and said he wanted to play with them too. The triplets, who'd been so cocky just moments before, nearly wet themselves in fear. But soon they formed the same triangular formation they'd used against Tyson, surrounding Gavl completely. Just as they were about to launch their attack on Gavl, he suddenly used his urine to draw a circle on the ground. Having finished this task, Gavl felt much more comfortable. Then, under the shocked gazes of all 3 men, Gavl actually lay down on the ground. Since he delivered himself right to them, the triplets didn't hold back. They pounded away at Gavl's head with everything they had. Just when the triplets thought they'd stomped Gavl to death, he suddenly sat back up. Gavl placed his hand near his ear. He was listening to the sound of the wind. Then he went to the pinwheel and blew on it hard. The air currents instantly began flowing, actually forming a hurricane. Next, Gavl held up his discarded clothes high above his head, like a pirate flag billowing in the wind before setting sail. Then Gavl used mud soaked with blood to paint a ghoulish face on himself. He took a deep breath, and his muscles rapidly contracted. Then he ripped off his headband in one swift motion. The triplets were so terrified they nearly wet themselves again. All they could do was swallow hard to calm their anxious nerves. But soon the triplets formed their triangle formation once more, surrounding Gavl. While Gavl had his back turned, the 3 freaks launched another cowardly sneak attack. But Gavl dodged with an incredibly bizarre movement. Then Gavl struck one of them in the jaw with his palm. The terrifying force sent the freak flying through the air. After seeing their third brother taken out with a single blow, the remaining two finally realized what kind of monster they were facing. They were literally scared to the point of wetting themselves. At that moment, all he wanted was to go home to his mother. The last remaining fighter, after locking eyes with Gavl, completely lost his will to fight. Since that was the case, there was no point for Gavl to continue the battle. But just as he returned to his cell, Gavl was shocked to discover Baki kneeling before him. Baki hoped that after Gavl's fight with Oliva, he could have a match with him too. Naturally, Gavl was game for anyone who wanted to fight. Forget after the battle, he'd be fine with fighting right now. But just then, a pair of eyes suddenly appeared at the cell door. Oliva smiled slightly, then applied tremendous force, twisting the 100-ton iron door into a pretzel. Such terrifying strength left everyone absolutely speechless. Then Oliva, gripping the iron door, approached Gavl. Was their epic battle about to begin?